The future is here already. It's just not evenly distributed. Yet. Today's world teems with innovation. The nexus of hardware, software, and human ingenuity promises a revolution in possibilities. What does tomorrow look like? Witness Future Proof.
All right, folks, welcome back to Future Proof Season 2. Your host here, Eric Kavanagh. In today's episode, episode 5 of our second season, we're going to tackle one of the most exciting disciplines in the world of data and, frankly, in the business world at large. So thanks to folks like Elon Musk, many of us know about self-driving cars these days, which are fascinating. But the question becomes, if cars can drive themselves, why can't data? And the short answer is data management can drive itself. So today we've got an all-star cast, folks. We're going to hear from Diane Hinchcliffe of Constellation Research. We're going to hear from Yves Mulkers of 7W Data out of Belgium. And we're also going to hear Michael Klaus himself of a company called Atacama that's doing some really cool work in the world of self-driving data management. And what's the upshot here, folks? When you leverage self-driving data management, you improve operations, you improve data quality, because human beings are error prone, and you also allow your team, therefore, to focus on much more interesting and exciting work. So let's dive into the world of self-driving data management right here on Future Proof.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. That was a great introduction. So my background is enterprise architecture, very large systems, having to reconcile that your business is different all over the place with their own databases, their own data warehouses, their own data lakes. And one of these signature challenges is managing all that data so you have a single view of the customer. The issue that we run into today is the exponential growth of data. We live in exponential times for everything. The amount of data we have today is nothing compared to what's coming. And what we already have now is overwhelming to the processes that exist today in most organizations. So how do we do that? How do we tackle that data management challenge? And I spent a lot of time, a lot of work trying to solve those issues, right? So the root causes are, go on and on. There's application silos. We don't integrate our systems well. We don't have a master data strategy or repository. The data sources we have aren't of the quality we often would like, right? They're often unstructured these days. And so bringing them in is usually designed for a single process, not for use across the entire organization, right? We often don't control the underlying databases. The commercial off-the-shelf systems that we have licensing restrictions anyway. They don't allow us to do that much. They might allow us to add some custom fields, but not reorganize or create a common schema or whatever it is that you need to do. And then how we work with these systems. We have often have to cut and paste data. We have to import and export, and the data gets out of sync, and you don't know where's the single source to the truth. How can I find that? We Swiss cheese our own data as a result of that. And then we have manual processes for data management that can't keep up, never will keep up. And so, all of this is a recipe for poor data management in most organizations. They're usually doing the bare minimum. So, I would say the most urgent thing is to make sure you make payroll, right? The next thing is to ship everything to your customers. Those are the kind of, must meet deadlines that are being addressed with data management successfully, and not much other than that because of all of these issues, right? So, we can fix this in a number of ways. And this is from hard-won experience. I've been on a lot of projects where we haven't solved it, and I've been on some that we have solved it. And the place is, you can't boil the ocean. You have to focus on where a fix has a lot of value and people will invest in it. One is that 360 view of the customer, 360-degree view of the customer. Focusing on employee experience and core journeys, right? And key processes like sales or project management or operations, where people will pay a lot to solve those problems. When data is not lining up, things are inconsistent. I'm reporting this, but you're seeing that, right? In high value system integrations and in your main line of business systems. If you solve the problem there, you get permission and budget to solve it elsewhere. So I often say focus your data management strategy. And the solutions, we know what the solutions are, and they're getting more off the shelf, which is what's nice. Creating a master data system that's actually operational, right? A lot of master data that sits on a shelf. Doing data management to be a librarian, to keep it in the library, doesn't do anyone any good. Data management has to have an operational component. And you have to create master data warehouses for reporting for reasons that we'll see, in that transaction systems are lousy reporting systems and vice versa. It's a hard-won lesson, right? Cost-effective but comprehensive data management goes across silos and reaches into all the systems where our customer data might be, or key supply chain data might be. And intelligent automation of data management at scale to keep up with all this, right? And that means you have to make everything much more open than it is. You have to get rid of those application silos, create those APIs and those enterprise graphs powered by master data that fuel all future development and integration, or you just get right back to the same boat, right? So, but we can solve these issues. So there's a lot of technical on the ground issues as well, operational issues for data management. So how can we scale data management in the exponential era, right? So it's got to be the architecture, the database systems, the master data underlying, the quality controls on top of that, the integrations that connect everything together, and then all the governance tasks on top of that. So all of those need to be addressed for the scale problem that we're seeing. Lots more data, lots more systems. I'm seeing a proliferation of applications the likes I've never seen before, and we need that technology to make our businesses better. But with digital transformation and trends like that, we're seeing this, this hyper scale and growth. And so whatever we do has to be able to work next year, 5 years in the future, and still work 10 years in the future, right? So this is kind of my most technical slide, but I think it's also my most useful slide in that the real data management situation in most enterprises looks something like this. And the real issue is that it's not operational. It's not actually being used by systems. So most organizations are at the tail end of stage 0, primitive manual data management, and they're starting getting into master data for their most significant types of data, and they're distributing that versus with a service-oriented architecture or enterprise service bus. But they're moving away from that, right? We want to really get master data that's much more universal via open APIs, right? And organizations are entering that stage, but that's not sufficient to address the challenges that I had just outlined. We need automated data management, and that's the point of consumption. Your data management is creating the master data, and it's becoming an operational component in your business. So the solution is this so-called self-driving data management aimed at outcomes. If we don't aim it at the pain points at first, and then the real business opportunities, then you're not going to get the budget you need to fully implement it. You're not going to get permission to do it. And so we have to add automation, artificial intelligence, cognitive tools, and it requires cognitive capabilities that really understand your business, because there's a lot of nuance in data, especially in unstructured data. So contextual automation is the key to unlocking the value of data management. So if you really wanted a list of obstacles to knock over, here's what you have to do, right? You have to answer these questions, and they're all, by the way, if you answer them, they represent major opportunities. So I'll leave you with this final point, and I think this kind of goes along with what Eric was saying in the beginning. Only the unblinking gaze of digital data detectives, right, can get in and around the clock continuously track and identify data management issues, the opportunities. If your data management system isn't finding opportunities at scale, you don't get those either, while providing everything with a safety net, right? So it's trusted and secure, and it's compliant. And if we do that, then we can solve the problems that we actually need to solve. And I think we're getting there as an industry. It's great to see.
Well, that was a fantastic presentation. I love that the unblinking gaze. With that, let me hand it off to Eve Molkers out there from 7W Data. If you're wondering, who is this 7W Data? Well, this is the mastermind behind all that. So Eve, take it away.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Eric. Hope you can see my screen right now. Should be the case.
Yep.
So a bit piggybacking on whatever Diane was saying, I had the idea of the data done for you, really, or is it the future? I still see too many projects where we do that manual data management and all the stuff. And it's hard to tell people what you already can do with machine learning and artificial intelligence to support your initiatives on data management. So in a general way, when can data bring value to you? That is when you have trust in the data, there is transparency, you understand where the data is coming from, where it's going, and who is using that data. The understanding that ties back into the contextual part of the data, that you really know if you see a field and a value that you really understand what that is. I mean, you were talking about the headers, the the metadata which comes in through files and having that understanding, but that is not enough. We need the contextual understanding of where the data lives and what it means related to the business process and the systems. Tying into that, the struggles we still see for data management, it's that it takes ages to find the right data, and even longer before IT can make that data available. Another big challenge, what I see time and time again, is we have those development tests and acceptance and production systems in place. It's very nice to do your development test in those environments, then move on to the next phase where you do the integration, then move it in the next phase into the acceptance, where you sit together with business and they say, okay, this is perfect, right? But sorry, we don't have the production data into our acceptance systems. So you will still find outliers and issues within your data reports once you move to your production systems. So it's kind of, okay, we have this error, the expert at stake knows how to fix that, and we move on, All of that, simple things that would trigger you if to get that value out of your data. That is, if we can get faster to that data in a controllable way and time again in the same way, in a repeatable way, and of course, in a so much easier way, hopefully in a self-driving management kind of approach. How do we do this right now? These are days, how do we serve ourselves to get into these insights in your data? That is, we use ERDs, entity relation diagrams, your data model on a logical, on a conceptual, or on a physical level. So why don't we use these new approaches? Some people try to reinvent the wheel, and I can imagine sometimes for time and material projects, this is something that you can keep on doing and brings a lot of money on the table for these consultancy companies. So, but then again, so why the heck do we need to search for the right data and verify everything time and time again when we write an SQL query to get to the data and build those insights, or when you write a Python code or build your Excel pivot table to find the right insights? So where are we going? What is possible already these days? There is already so much we can do with artificial intelligence and automation. We can look at automation if we look at software engineering and where they came from and where they're at right now. These are in fact the principles we can apply to data management as well. If you look at automated testing, ensuring that you have all the time consistent data quality, and you can do test-driven data development, there are so much pains that you can solve at the end of the data supply chain. Then we have the data management, but we didn't yet speak about infrastructure. That's where we see we are running out of disk space, or we don't have enough compute power. And that's why the ETL batch job overnight failed and running until the end of the day before you get your insights from yesterday. So what about a system that could automatically scale and provide all this kind of information? A part of the solution is these days the hybrid cloud platforms that help you with scale at demand and when you really need it. So that's a part of the problem, is a part how we solve that problem with compute, storage, and memory as we need it. Let's explain a bit how artificial intelligence and machine learning versus the old school of modeling and data management, what we are doing. Typically, what we do, we take our data on a very granular level and we try to identify what type of data do we have in front of us. If we have those identified, we try to group them in a more common way where we say, okay, this relates to marketing, this relates to finance, and we try to find intermediate levels. On the data quality level, we just do spot checks and we know how your data looks like. We use systems like profiling to find the minimum, the maximum, the mediums, and the outlier values. But if you look on machine learning, what that can do, it can for you really define those outliers. And let me jump back a bit, find those outliers for you and help you classify. There are already so many libraries out there that have very good knowledge of contextual environments and can identify for you by looking at the data how it looks like. Identify, for example, they're pretty good at identifying a bank account, a telephone number, an order number, an invoice ID. So that's a lot of information that these machine learning libraries can help you in managing your data. So what is the solution to all of this? Let's have an all-inclusive data managed platform, as I call it, that can ingest your data in an automated way, is pretty intelligent to test your data, profile data, to build that understanding of your data, identify that data in the classification part, help you find your data and kind of play the GPS for all your data resources, what you have in your organization. And by having all that in place, build an understanding of your data. Together with the whole enterprise, we need to be able to collaborate around these data sets. So somebody finds an insight and can attach that to your data asset. So that is knowledge that you build and can share with, amongst your complete enterprise. And an easy way to share that data to people that want to build their own data sets and try off with a small part of that. And of course, everything needs to be embedded in a very well protected and government environment. Another part that we need to address in that unique platform that should tackle analytics workloads, transactional workloads, a data warehouse or data lake or a data warehouse lake, whatever you want to call it, in a structured and be able to work with structured and unstructured data. So these days, there are a lot of offerings already on the market that can help you and drive that automated and AI and machine learning supported data. But people still need to understand which capabilities are out there on the market and help you in your data management struggles from day to day.
I love it. Less effort, more value. Faster time to value is another key component as well. And with that, I'm going to hand the keys off to Michael Klaus of Atacama.
Thanks, Eric. These were actually amazing insights, and I would love actually to have a discussion on these, but I have a few things I want to share by myself. We keep talking about data management, but the more we are we as a company are doing what we're doing, we see that it's simply inseparable from the governance, right? The one other thing I wanted to mention, I think it's by now it's pretty clear where are the benefits of intelligently automating data management, right? The benefits are clear. It's effortless. It can be effortless. It's the only way how you can scale in these days, right? How you can scale actually your business. One other take that I want to share with you, with the audience, is actually this. And it's been going on for years, right? But maybe today with COVID, it might be even more pronounced. The digital transformation have been happening, right, for a long time, and now it really is happening because there is no other way, right? In most organizations, the relationship between those people is something like this, right? There is a lot of tension because the people who are focused on governance, they are seen as those are seen as obstacles, right? The agile people would rather do it quick and dirty way. We just need to have it, etc. So I'll try to explain how I think the self-driving or intelligently automated data management and data governance. So what is it that I'm talking about in general? We at Atacama have a platform which we call Atacama One. So what we as Atacama are providing to the customers is a platform which lets the organization gradually build this layer. And I think the gradual nature is also important because you never boil the ocean, right? You go step by step. What we are saying is we will be taking your integration kind of needs, and we will be gradually building the layer, adding it to the layer, so that over time you have a layer where you will find most of the data that you need. And of course, you need to be able to provide it. If you kind of break it down in high-level use cases, what the platform does is really discovery, profiling, finding the data, understanding what's in it. It needs to have, and it has very powerful metadata management, which is seen as data catalog and glossary to the users. Of course, it has a data quality management to monitor quality, improve the quality. Master data management is essential, and a generic data integration functionality is there as well. Now, we are seeing what we're doing as the data layer rather than these individual modules, but I think it's important to understand what's kind of underneath. So if you take a look at it in the form of this high-level architecture, you have in general some kind of sources on the left side, and everything that's in the blue or magenta color is our value proposition. So we can connect to any data source in any shape and form. Then we will do a lot of stuff with the data so that it is, at the end, it's trustworthy, it's governed, it's of highest quality, and then we can provide this to the value creators, to those who are actually creating the products based on the data product that our platform can generate. What's important, it's not only about data, but it's also about metadata, of course, on the input, but also on the output. If you don't have the metadata for everything that's in that layer, you simply still are kind of operating blind. And if you kind of put it in 3D, that's what's now being also called a data fabric. Now, this webinar is called, the topic is self-driving, but what I want to talk about is where I think we are as an industry and how the dream of self-driving fits into it and where we are today. So most organizations, unfortunately, are in the age of fully manual driving, meaning if I give you an example of data quality, you saw there are quite a few use cases, but if I pick just the data quality, in the data quality field, doing things manually is anything from you want to understand quality, someone needs to go and write SQL to understand the quality of this and that table. What I also call manual is you have some kind of technology, but the technology works the way that basically a data steward analyst needs to go in and define, in a very technical terms, define the business rules for the quality, right? This is still pretty manual. I think, unfortunately, probably majority of organizations are in this stage today. There are few technologies on the market which have some augmentation available in one of the disciplines that I was talking about, one of the use cases. I'll give you a question. What do you think needed to be done to obtain this? So in most cases, you would have to have someone to ingest the data in some kind of tool, then define the rules, etc. In our platform, in the current GA version, you actually only needed to connect to the data source, and you needed to confirm suggested rules by the platform, and that's all you needed to do. All of everything else would happen automatically. So this is almost already self-driving, but we would still call it augmented, and I'll show you what self-driving really is. What you can also get is the data lineage, of course, in this case with the overlay of the quality. And this is how you do it. This is how you do it today in the augmented age or augmented version of the platform. So what we're looking at here is let's say the data steward looking at one particle table. I think Diane or Eve also talked about kind of switch from rule-based to pattern-based approach to things. So in the platform, and it's already, I think it's already can count as self-driving because you really don't need to do anything. The platform will be watching trends, and then it suggests to the users, hey user, I think this is anomaly, and then you can as a user confirm it or reject it, and this way the platform learns. So what I'm trying to say, somewhere on the way between augmented to self-driving, you need to have these two approaches to things. One is rule-based and one is pattern-based. When I talked about the need for data governance to be fully integrated into data management, which also means it can be automated, I want to share what is coming in the upcoming release of our platform, and it is the ability to define policies. Within those policies, you can define various ways how the policy is implemented. You know, either encrypting the data or restricting access to data, or some other ways, or deleting data when it's when the policy speaks about data retention. And once you define that, this is how you define it. Actually, any consumer of the data in the data layer that I keep talking about, and the consumer can be, of course, a user, but more often than not, it will be a system or API. Any consumer will only get the data based on basically the cross-section of his or her user privileges and the policies applied on the particular data. So this is really kind of full integration of governance into the data management. This is when you have a policy applied, the data is encrypted. So this was really, I don't know, 2% of the functionality of the platform, mostly focused on data quality in the augmented version, which has been available for some time, at least from Atacama. Now, I want to talk about about a dream, right? The dream of self-driving data management and governance. And of course, in the car analogy, the dream is you get into a car, you tell the car where you want to go, and that's all you care about. You don't need to do anything else, right? You don't need to search for steering wheel. You don't need to know the actual route. You don't need to do anything. You just sit and work with your colleagues or relax or whatever. If you translate it into data management, we think it means following things. Of course, it is kind of built on top of the augmented. It's a predecessor. It's autonomous. It's automating most of or all of the processes. And of course, it needs to be learning from the user input. There is still user input in the way of confirming or rejecting things, and it needs to be taking this into account into the machine learning algorithms. The self-service UI is still available, but it's a different type of self-service compared to today's self-service. The UI is really presenting user with suggestions, and user is confirming or rejecting the suggestions. And if I focus on the one challenge which I think businesses are facing, and there are many, of course, related to data, we believe that with this platform, you can have the impatient, agile people actually doing things much faster, but at the same time in much better and much more governed way than if they did it in a quick and dirty way.
Great stuff, folks. We're going to bid you farewell. We do archive all these webinars for later viewing. The archive is usually available in about an hour, so things are going pretty fast. They've automated that part of the process. But look these guys up: Eve Molkers of 7W Data, Diane Hinchcliffe from Constellation Research, and of course Michael Klaus from Atacama. Very, very cool. And yes, we can all get along, folks. Superheroes as well. We'll talk to you next time, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.